Live tonight on American Zombie. Here we are together again on the radio. And this is how to know when someone is lying. And I'm sure everybody in here can go into their memory and think of many times when people have lied to them, but also people that have lied to them that they didn't realize at the time were lying and found out later on at serious cost, or people that know when they're being lied to. So we have that. Exorcism AI got on peace, bro. Good to see you, man. Definitely, man. Thanks, man. I appreciate it, bro. Definitely, bro. Yeah, the how to know when someone is lying. And I've noticed that one of the best instances is when asking them about science, asking them about politics as well, and religion. The difference between a fact and a theory, because we see with the schoolhouse zombie, that's one of the biggest hurdles to come through. Divine Hazel, good to see you. If they don't look you in the eye, yeah, we definitely have. Yep, they look down clearly. Like we see those physical signs when people are, if they try to give too much information. Defensive language is another good one. The stress responses, like an increased breathing rate. I've noticed that. I've even noticed people sweating. People start sweating when they're lying. Mouth covering, telltale signs. Eye behavior, fidgeting and freezing. A lot of people will freeze as they stare out into space. So we have a lot of body language, that mismatch, saying yes while shaking the head no, depending on what culture they come from, because different culture, different bodily expressions, and to look through those, but then also there are things they say. Mr. Super Sidewinder, good to see you, man. Always a pleasure, bro. The thing. So we have the physical cues, which Divine Hazel, AI Gollum, and a few other people were talking about, not looking a person in the eye, looking down. We have other physical responses: breathing, sweating, face flushing, the body actions not matching, covering the mouth. So a lot of physical, fidgeting, eye behavior, but also contradictions. So say they're good at lying and they can cover up those physical signs. So it's like, okay, we got to go to level 2 on how to know when someone is lying, because we say, man, this person, they know, they'll look you dead in the eye and lie. So we know there's people like that. We know there's people that will look you in the eye, and later on, we might realize it if we don't know that, yes, when people don't look you in the eye, that is a sign. But also there's cases of people looking people in the eye and lying. So we know that, okay, even if they look you in the eye, they can be lying. So now we go into what they are saying. Mr. X, always a pleasure, brother. Always, man. So now we go into saying, okay, if they don't look you in the eye, the senses are up, the antenna goes up. Why is this person looking away, looking down? Why are they covering their mouth and sweating and stuff like that? But if they can hide those things, now we go into the thought process of when they like say certain things that just don't add up. How to know when a politician lies? Yeah, now that's a good question. So when we look at politicians lie, the way to, if they can control their body language, is to just think about what they're saying. So when, like, okay, when people, like, you say, wait a minute, that's impossible to do. That's a pipe dream. stuff like that, to where it's like as soon as this guy gets in, everybody's gonna forget about the stuff that they promised. So we'll look at a couple of things that were like Trump when he was in the first office, right? He got people, he played on people's stupidity and ignorance by and that we know that a part of mental illness is racism. So he played on prejudices, more like the bias of a person, to make them think again, hey, make them great, the patriotism, telling them that he's going to build a wall, and of course he didn't build a wall, not that I wanted him to. They are professional liars. They're professional liars. And when you look at the population that was supporting him, I mean, the build a wall thing was like a chant. Like, I mean, that was some barbaric medieval type of thing. And I'm glad, see, people don't know the wall is meant to keep you in and keeping nobody out. Changing laws, that exactly, of saying, look, if people come, like the employment stuff, even then. But the fact that nobody cared, that one, this guy lied, and any thinking person would say, wait a minute, you can't, oh yeah, no, he definitely was on the wall. But one, somebody would have been like, wait a minute, the cost, the time to build a wall, and then also to know that massive amounts, 20-30%, maybe more, are coming through from Canada. And when you look at somebody that comes in to work illegally, that I don't see how you have to not be thinking to think that that's a problem. People coming in to do crime, that's a problem. We do see that. So even when they come into work, they do a disservice to Americans that need to get jobs, because they're going to work for a cheaper price. This is why the government has to step in and fine people and all of this stuff, but they're still going to do it. We already see when that happens, they just move the company outside of the US. And now that those jobs aren't even available. And it makes you look deeper into how the country works, how towns and cities work, which is very important, and these guys, when you look at it, you start to say, oh, this is based on a lot of crookery. But when somebody says, oh, well, where's the proof? You say, well, just look at the obvious. It's like somebody telling you that they can't do something, like Flint, Michigan, right? They'll tell us they can't fix Flint, Michigan, or they can't fix certain things, but yet they're going to give money right in your face to somebody else. So
I would like to jump in real fast.
Mm-hmm.
So, you were saying something, and I kind of was thinking about what you were saying. Dang it, what was the last thing you just said? You were talking about.
Are you there?
You forgot what I was going to say.
You forgot what you were going to say?
Okay, when it comes, I was just talking to somebody about
when I was
the
saying,
whole
like,
slavery, about the slavery thing.
Okay.
And because they were like, okay, America is more free than the other places. We have more opportunities, this and that. If you look at the rest of the world, most of the world is enslaved. And I was like, okay, well, if you're saying there's a lot of slavery in all the other countries, who is America doing business with, right? Like, who is funding that slavery? Because I as far as I was aware, I thought America was the powerhouse to the financial system of the world. So I mean, if there was some kind of slavery that was being propped up, by a financial system, I would assume we would be playing a part in that, right? That's my assumption.
Yeah. I was saying that your phone still has a little bit of a ticking. I don't know if you hold the cord into it tighter, maybe it won't make that little popping sound when you're talking. But yeah, I think that when we look at the evidence, the when we look at the evidence, we see that it seems that there's something behind all of the governments giving orders. So when somebody might say, well, where's the proof of that? Right? They might say, what do you mean one world, or something behind the scenes that has actually made these countries look like independent places? When we saw the thing that happened a few years ago, the pandemic that had the world basically in a scare, magically nobody resisted it, and the places that did, a few African countries, magically the leaders ended up being ended in odd ways. They ended up fading away. And the other people, there was no beef. I'm surprised China didn't say something. You know, that was a big red flag to say, wait a second. So there's no disagreement on this? Everybody went along with it. Countries that would not even talk to each other really on a diplomatic basis. Everybody went along with it. And we saw that now those borders that we thought that was so strong magically faded back. And that revealed like the power, the fingerprint of what was behind it. Saying, yeah, when we say that something's going to happen, it's going to happen. Now, when we look at like just stuff in the country, it can let us see on a smaller scale, on a national scale, instead of a worldwide scale, how that same thing is done with states. So states could be considered countries, but we saw that, you know, you think they're independent and stuff like that, but they're not. They're not. There's something behind the scenes. But how do we tell? Like, how do we tell when somebody's lying? When the politician is saying he's going to build a wall, like somebody would have, if mathematically they would have charted that out to build it, the price, whatever, just to build it would go beyond one term of presidency. And you look at it realistically, somebody would say, this is not going to happen. This is just not going to happen. There were a lot of other things that people.
Wait, how does my mic sound now?
I heard a little pop, but you got to like keep talking for me to know.
Okay, I don't think it's whether it's true or not. I think the question should be more like, what is the intention? Because whether the wall could be built,
still hear the
is
little,
not really the question.
Yeah, it's still got that little bit of static, like on the end of the, when you talk, like after you say the word, it has like a little bit. But like when these politicians say things that you can easily, when they say that they don't have the funds to fix something, but yet they're also saying that they're going to give money to another country because they need something to be fixed, then you know, without any body language, just with verbal, what they've said, that they're lying. Because if they have money to give somebody else, then you already had the money to fix something in your own country. So that's one way to look at it, to say, oh, okay, I can see that. I can see that somebody is like is gonna I mean, how hard is that? That's when it comes into play, where you say, well, who am I talking to? Is it even worth talking to this person? Because when you say, look, this person is saying that they're going to give money to another country, not just some money, but billions of dollars. So when something cannot be fixed, or some program, they don't have the funding, or they have to cut funding, we know without any body language, just from what they're giving away to another country, we know that that's a lie, because they're giving the money away. That's one way to see how people are lying. Drew, good to see you, man. Yeah, it's all a script, man. It's all a script. This with evolution and science and stuff like that, mathematics, it's easy. There's really no lying in math because you can check it. But when you look at the so-called sciences, you can see the lies. When people say, oh, common ancestor, that's a lie. So now it goes beyond just the theory. Oh, well, with supporting evidence and stuff, that's why it's a strong theory. Well, it's not. It's not. And when people think about, you talk to somebody and they say common ancestor or the missing link that hasn't been found yet. Well, they're lying, and they're lying in a way where sometimes they don't even know they're lying, because the language missing link, something missing, implies that it once existed, that it was found, that it is known to exist for sure. So it exists, but it's missing. When they use that type of word for missing link, the deception is right there in the open for somebody who's thinking. They say, wait a second, that's not missing. We haven't found a transitional fossil, transitional species. And even like I said, if we find something that could maybe fit in between, that still can easily be shown not to be correct by lining up a monkey, a baboon, an ape, a chimp, a gorilla. We see that somebody could say, yeah, they all turned into each other slowly. They're transitioning. But when you look at the genetics, you start to say, no, that's totally wrong. For somebody that doesn't know, yeah, they might say, without thinking, they might just believe it. And we already know belief is where the problem happens. To believe something over what it is. If you believe you can jump over a certain distance between two cliffs, which aren't far apart, and you don't make it, we already know that belief, what can happen. We already know what belief has done to put people to spark against each other. Yeah. Yes,
I don't think it's possible to have understanding without having like the stage of believing. Like you need to believe in something before you can like know and then understand. Or I think it's somewhere like that. Like I'm not sure if that's the right order, but I think there is knowing, there is believing, and there is understanding, and I think those all play a role in, you know,
you got to get a new mic, man. You got to get something with the, I mean, it's not that bad, but I mean, or, hopefully it can charge. Yeah. Because it definitely, I mean, I hope it charges. But yeah, the belief thing, when you think, it suspends the belief. When you believe, it suspends the thinking. So you're not going to believe something and think at the same exact time. Somebody might say they believe in a certain religion. And then if you point out to something that just doesn't make sense, that somebody might have put in their book that just is totally ludicrous. And you say, well, you don't adhere to this law here, right? Like what it says here. So, do you think about people working on Sunday or a holy day, that anything should be done to them for working on that day, for not following the book to the letter? We can start to think. But if we believe, we don't think anymore. And we see people that do that and they get in this rage. Oh, the book says this and this. So now that person is not thinking. That person is purely believing. The book says these people, these other people, the different people. And that's what the wars start, without thinking. If somebody thinks, they say, wait a second, those people haven't even done nothing to us. Or we can build a defense to prevent them from attacking. So we don't got to attack anybody and we can live in peace. That's what thinking does. Belief says, yeah, but the book says we got to go out there and try to convert people. And that's belief. The reading. If you think, you say, well, wait a second, I don't think these people want to get converted. Well, hey, that's why the book says use the sword. It's the book, the plate, and the sword. The plate to collect the money, and the sword is if they don't want to give it. And we see that it's a common theme. It's a very common theme. And it can only be accomplished if someone is not thinking. If they're thinking, they're going to say, wait a minute, that's just a belief. I don't think that that's a smart thing to do. I don't think that's because it takes that thought to think about what you were believing in. So the belief can come first. There's no doubt about it. But once a person trains themselves not to just fully believe something, now they look at the world in a totally different way, in a way where they can know when someone is lying. They'll know to look at something from different angles, to figure it out, to observe. Most of the time, when a person speaks the truth, so called, they're just stating the obvious that people tend to ignore. Like one obvious thing is that no politician has ever lowered taxes. We've noticed that. Nothing that you can feel significantly, in my opinion. So we see that it just keeps going up. And inflation, but the paycheck does not match that rise, which causes inflation. It causes problems. And now we're seeing that on top of that, somebody's going to say they're going to give money away to other countries. That's like madness when you think about it. Like to say, look, if a country is in alliance with the USA, that has a little bit of a different vibe to it. But when a country, when it's just aid, like studies, like I think somebody, I don't know if it was the UK or US, was funding studies on like some type of behavior, like sexual behavior over in another country. It's like, what are we doing paying a couple of $100,000, close to $1 million, I think it was, or maybe even a little more, for studies on some type of sexual education? It's ridiculous.
Hello, mic check, 1 2.
Yeah, much better, bro, much better. If you got anything you want to add in, yeah, please.
Okay, I'm gonna wait for now. I was scrambling around to look for the mic.
Yeah, mic sounding good. Yeah, yeah. So when we look at the theory compared to the fact, the belief compared to thinking, and even thinking is not going to be the fact. You say, well, do you believe in evolution? And that's the thing. Evolution always comes out with that and then tries to say it's not a belief. And I say, no. And they say, well, what do you mean? The first thing people say to show you, like right away, just from mental gymnastics, is to notice how they'll be like, do you believe in evolution? And if you say no, they'll immediately think you're not scientific. That's usually a very large part of the responses that you'll get. That they'll say, well, so what, you don't believe in science? It's like, no, actually, science, the scientific method, it disproves evolution. Everything that evolution claims happens, of things happening by chance, doesn't add up scientifically. It doesn't add up scientifically at all. Actually.
Yeah, saying random and saying infinite, that's not justifications for like any logical reasoning. I mean, it's logical if you want to believe in, infinity, I guess, but I don't know.
Well, even if you believe in infinity, right? This is where the logic comes in. There are certain things when you look at them that cannot be created by random processes because yeah. Look at blood clotting, right? You need 12 major components. If one of those are missing, it's not going to work properly. How does that happen in little increments? It has to happen at once. You look at certain organs. How do you have, like, if the organ isn't fully developed, how's that going to wait to develop to create a full liver or a full heart? You look at just these simple things and you start to say, yeah, this is madness that somebody would think that this could happen by chance. And then the solidification of it is when you do the math and you say, okay, it takes, let's just say, a certain amount of amino acids to make a certain protein. So say 10 or 20 even, right? all of the combinations that could be formed to make that, the numbers are like, it's improbable. It goes to an extremely small number, a very small number, in fact. And it's almost close to zero. So you say, yeah, this is not going to happen. And if it were to happen, you're looking at such a long time span that it goes beyond what they're trying to say, the billion of years that it took for the universe to create, which is all just, again, it's not even really a theory. It's sort of like somebody's opinion. It's less than a theory. A fact is an observation, while a theory connects and explains multiple observations. So they'll try to say, well, it's a very strong theory. They're connecting and explaining multiple observations. But that, of course, does not mean that it is true. Theories are expected to make predictions, which could be confirmed. And
sorry, I think it's a little laggy.
What, the stream is lagging?
No, my phone internet.
Oh, all right. Yeah. So when we look at the difference between a fact and a theory, a theory is something that isn't 100% certain, but yet they will try to say, well, over here, it's this is a fact. Now, I'm just pointing out in evolution because we see that that's in the scholastics field, but we also should look into politics. We can clearly see it there. I mean, you can almost just count the lies, right? If you just type in presidential lies, you're going to find stuff on every president. There's always going to be some type of thing that you can find out that they said, and you say, well, wait a minute, this isn't, correct right here. This is the lie. There's no way when he said this that this could have, it didn't happen. So we know right there he lied. But now how did we miss the lie?
I want to jump in here.
Yeah.
Did you know, legally speaking, law enforcement, when it comes to what the courts have ruled, they're legally not obligated or required to protect individual citizens that's it in the United States. Like, they're not obligated to do that. If they know someone's an immediate threat,
I've heard that. In your opinion.
No, not in my opinion. This is from what I understand. Of what they said. They said this was a court.
Yeah, you probably, if you got the link, throw it in the private chat because I'll throw it, because that's a good way to say, okay, this law right here. And there is a law. Well, I think in training, they're allowed to lie. Like, it's sort of, to lie to try to get the truth. I mean, you got to remember they're trained never to tell the truth to somebody they would think is a suspect. And again, I mean, the deeper you look on that rabbit hole, you also don't realize is this person is going through trauma every day. This person that's wearing the uniform every day, they're dealing with, people in society. We already see dealing with people in society as a civilian can be a little bit hectic. Imagine having to deal with the disputes.
Yeah, but this is a thing though. Like, literally, positions of power determine your protection of the amount of protection that the system will give you. Like, that you can agree with, right?
Well, yeah, I see that.
There's political positions and there's other positions too.
Oh yeah. A person
legal.
A person that works for the sheriff's department is going to get more results when they have a problem with somebody.
Yeah, like literally, if my life gets threatened and I try to call the cops, I'm like, hey, some guy just pulled a gun on me. He just threatened my life. They're not gonna treat that. They're not gonna take my thing as serious as if the sheriff said it and he was like, hey, this happened. That's gonna go way differently. So that's messed up. That's not justice. That's law. That's not order. That's
justice is the right
that's
word.
Something else.
It's not fairness.
That's a gang. That's a gang that protects itself.
Well, it's not fairness.
Law enforcement is a gang.
Well, you got to remember that it's not fairness. So it's not that justice is not the proper word. I would say it's not fairness because it's not treating people fair to say,
So then
okay, you're
what's the point of having law enforcement if they're not going to uphold justice
well.
or protect the
Remember,
citizens? Because we're talking about lies here. Remember, we're talking about
yeah,
lies. And
exactly. Well,
the
the
lie
reason,
that I was told my whole life was that they were here to serve and protect, and that's not true.
Mhm,
They're not here to serve and protect the people.
mhm.
They're here to serve and protect the positions of power.
That's yeah, they are here to remember. They're here to protect the system of control. To say, okay, what you see in society, right? They are like the mechanics to fix when something goes wrong in society. And when you look at how they're used, it's in a very brutal fashion. I mean, you can find corruption all throughout it from the beginning. I think the Keystone Cop Capers says a lot as well. If anybody looks that up, the Stanford experiment told us. It says it plain as day. They showed what happened, and nobody cared. That just giving somebody authority in an experiment that they could do, what a police can do to a regular person, showed them become monsters. And I think they revisited some of the people recently, and you have people that held the same beliefs. It was horrible to think that what they did was right to people during an experiment, to go that far to say, wow, because you're allowed. They had to stop to doing the experiment because they were allowed to do things to the people that were considered prisoners, that it started doing some yielding some very crazy effects, and they had to stop the experiment. The Stanford prison experiment says a lot. It says a real lot about yeah, it really does.
I do want to jump in here. I do think a big part of that, it's not just them being given a position of power. A big part of that has to do with the environment that power was given to them in, because they were given that power in a prison setting. So they're going to have more of a prison mentality. But I mean, I think settings, context really does have a lot to play in the end result, and like the situation that a person's in.
Mhm.
Ultimately, I think things can be skewed to certain, directions when it comes to doing tests. Like, nothing's going to be ultimately a objective test. Whenever people do things, it does sway the end result for whatever reason. Yeah, I think so, because like I said, the settings, the way, even the way the test was administered, like just the way it was administered has a big impact on how the people are going to end up reacting. Everything affects everything, and it's hard to really quantify and measure all of the small things that literally are in the subconscious that we're not aware of, that are affecting us.
Mhm. You're right.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. There's definitely many factors to consider. It's like you said, we see a hierarchy where the majority of law enforcement agencies are there to control the population, and it's like a cleanup crew. So one, you have people that work in assistance with them, the ambulances, the fire departments, because if you see, the one thing that they can boast is that you don't see, they go to clean up the dead body. You go to some countries and, you can cross the border to Mexico. People have told me that certain towns, they're a war zone. We do see that in some inner city places, but not like you do in some other countries. For some reason, the amount of law enforcement here, the amount of surveillance allows them to, well, that the fact that there's so much, that's the reason that they can get there on a scene in time. There are places that I remember when I was younger, people would call the police and it would take half an hour. But then if anybody would look at a certain, if they just look at the population in the ratio to the police in the precinct, how many, then you see the problem. I remember there was a town that had 300 police, that had the police, I think roughly, let's just say 500 had the police, 100,000, I think it was. So, of course, it can be done, because out of, even if one person had the police 100 people, or say 1,000 people, let's just say, a majority of that 1,000 are going to be regular working people. It's going to be no big thing. It's basically just to police around, to keep things in control, to make sure nobody's breaking into anything, make sure there isn't domestic abuse. If they get called, for domestic abuse, something like that. And
Wait, okay, I need to jump in. I need to cut in real quick. With most domestic abuse, I mean, unless it's like, they're like, I guess, really attacking them. Don't they just like turn it into a civil case? Because I know a lot of times there has been a lot of stuff that happened with my sister, and they were just claiming it all civil because the guy had guy's dad was a cop, and he paid over $25,000 to get a lawyer to like defend his kid in court, and do a whole bunch of like white collar crime type of stuff with the paperwork. So yeah, I don't really know what to say right now, but that happened. Like that happened, and from my experience, you could pay a lawyer, and if they have pull and sway, like let's say this lawyer was a retired judge, and now they're a lawyer. They have a lot of sway in what other people say, and think. There's a bar, like what is it called? A lawyer's bar, and I think to get into that, you need to be vouched in by other lawyers. You can't just like get in. You got to pass a test, obviously, but there is some type of thing where it's not like a ranking system. I forgot what exactly they said it was, but I do know there's like some kind of way that they want to make sure like you're a good person, or not like a criminal or something, or have bad intentions. So I think that can easily turn into a thing where if you are going against the mainstream narrative and whatever political persuasion that is had on everyone else, then you're automatically going to be outed, and you're not going to be allowed to even get into certain spaces because you're just automatically denied for being suspicious. Right? Isn't that a thing? Or no?
Say it again.
They could. Okay, I said a lot right now. There's like this vetting process in the bar to get into the lawyer's bar. Do you know what a lawyer's bar? The lawyer bar.
Yeah, when you take the bar association, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're saying when you take, are you saying that when they take the test, right, that if they pass it, they won't be able to join the bar association? Is that what you're saying?
I thought, yeah, it was something along those lines where like you needed to have some kind of credibility or something to get in. Like they won't just let you in.
Yeah, I have to look that. I'll look it up. Mr. X, what's up, bro? How's everything?
Good to see you, Max. Good to see you. Good to see you, the mind.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah.
I could be wrong, and I do know laws change, like you said, all the time.
No, I'm gonna look it up right now. I'll look it up right now. Is it so you're saying that where'd you hear this?
My mom was looking at my mom was dealing with lawyers, and she was trying to get a lawyer to see who could fight the case that she was dealing with, and she found out that all the lawyers were a part of the same bar association, and they all knew the same judge. And basically, the same lawyer, whenever they heard his name, they were like, okay, now at first they wanted to take the case, but when they found out who was doing the things, they were like, oh no, we can't do this. And actually, you're in the wrong. Like, they started telling my mom that she was doing wrong after they found out who was doing the stuff to her.
Oh, so they were, but basically that just means that they were protecting probably what, a dirty lawyer, another lawyer, or was it some other?
He was a judge. He was a judge before, but now he turned into a lawyer.
Yeah. So you know what it is? They're just afraid, basically. Or really, when you look into law, right? People can go to law school and they can pass the bar and stuff like that. But we already see that's not how it works. You see the lawyer that plays golf with the judge, that's the way it works.
Exactly.
Yep.
There's a documentary
Yep.
about that too called Divorced, and it's just what you just said, MD. They play golf together, and if they're doing a divorce for a high income family, they delay that divorce. They both work together, the judge and the lawyer.
Well,
Yep.
that's what I'm saying. Like, literally, if there's a criminal and that criminal has a dad who has friends with a judge lawyer, then that kid could get away with a lot more stuff. I mean, we've heard this before. Politicians' kids doing.
This happens. Look at the president's kid, Hunter Biden, right? Didn't he have a laptop and the China thing and all of that,
Sorry.
right? So the laptop, the China thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Yep. Yeah, so that's the point. That's my point.
Yeah, that's just basically they're afraid to, they're not. She has to find, and it would be very hard, but she could do it probably, is find a lawyer that's from out of town.
No, she was going to do it herself. She wanted to do it herself and represent herself and be a lawyer. But when she found out about how the bar association was basically being gated the same way a lot of different legal institutions are being around here. I mean, that's how the law works. Literally, internal investigations is not just for the cops. It's for...
It breeds corruption, man. This is why Larkin Rose, on his book, he has a channel, Larkin Rose, with the most dangerous superstition. He's like, law, it legitimizes aggression. And also assault, like it legitimizes violence, basically, to say that the law said you got to do this, and if you don't, what do? We see over and over on film violence. But if it doesn't work for you, don't use violence. Don't ever do that.
Yeah, I don't get it. How do the peacekeepers boasting to protect you and then throwing you in jail at the same time, where there's literally a lot way worse stuff that happens to you, and they laugh? People laugh about it. People don't drop the soap. That's the one joke everyone makes. Like, it's funny.
But that shows you that when somebody says that and you see other people, laugh or whatever, you realize at that moment, if you're aware, you realize that you're in an asylum, an open air psychiatric hospital. That's what most countries are. Now, even if you go to some areas that you might meet one or two that are thinking, usually if you just walk around or you're driving around society, going in stores and stuff, the average person is going to be from the psych ward. The equivalent of what that would be. I mean, some of these people, you look at the law enforcement, now you're dealing with stuff that's on a straitjacket level. On a straitjacket level that will put you in a straitjacket. Mr. X, you had something?
No, I'm just listening.
Yeah, it's like we see that the fact that you got to be nervous when police come around, when you haven't done anything, says it all. And a lot of people have that feeling. And that's not a good feeling. I remember in Holland, that was after being there for a little bit, I actually felt protected by the police. It wasn't like, oh, they're going to come in and save, but the main thing was they're not going to harass. They're going to observe and see, oh, he's not doing nothing wrong. So they just leave you alone. They don't even ask you. And I noticed when they would observe, that you in America, sometimes you could be doing nothing at all and just, they do the Gestapo type of thing. Where's your identification? And this, it's like, wait, what did the person do? And that level that we see throughout society, I mean, it's as if it's the open grounds with a big gate, that part of the psychiatric hospital. That's what suburban neighborhoods, the city, that's what it seems like. You talk to the average person and they're, for lack of a better word, brain dead. Their brain is just used to process certain things that give them pleasure and enough energy to produce work to buy the things to continue the pleasure. And they're in that loop. And most likely won't grow out of that loop. It's sad. There's almost everything around us is meant to condition us to stay in that loop. It's like a cycle of ignorance, never going past. Yep. The man-made artificial environments that, it's like I said before with politics, the right wing and the left wing are two different sides of the same psychiatric ward. The middle of it, when you walk in, the Oval Office, the United States of Asylums. It's just, I think they call it psychiatric hospitals. That's like the proper term. And then parts in there would be different wards. So the psych ward, it's like, okay, where's this from? Oh, this is from the left wing psych ward. And this guy's running for the right wing psych ward. And when you look at the followers, you already know the followers are straight just psych ward. I mean, this is the illness of the mental. You try to talk to somebody about just average stuff. You tell them, you say, hey, I tell you, man, Brian, what's up, man?
Well, MD, I mean, look at Jekyll Island. Oh, sorry.
Huh? What you say?
No, look at what happened with Jekyll Island, like I mentioned a few streams ago, when the bankers and the government execs decided to create the Federal Reserve. A big impact. They never asked for the American vote on that. They just did it. And that had a major impact on us as a society. That controls the money supply, that controls our interest rates. They never allowed the people to vote on something like that. It's like, anything important, it's not going to involve you. That should tell you right there.
Yeah. You're right about that. It's just it's at a point where we look at the average citizen, and that's why it did seem like a zombie movie to me, where I was like, man, you can't really. There's not much to say. I hope Brave comes back, man. I hope he's all right, man. Yeah, I hope he. Somebody said in the other chat, they said his channel. I don't know if he's still around. Hang on a sec. Yeah. Just when I think about the whole mentality thing, there's not many people that a person can talk to about real situations.
Yeah, I avoid politics altogether with the common person outside. I'm not looking to get into a fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, it can get dangerous.
Yeah. I mean, zombies with politics, and for the stream to say, okay, how to know when someone's lying. All I got to do is go through the political debates, and you can see that somebody will say something or promise something. Oh, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to clean up this. You don't have the ability to do that. it's like somebody telling you, hey, tell us, like when they take people that are in certain gangs or certain organizations and get them to tell, and they say, oh, we'll protect you, like they'll put them in a protection program. Sometimes they can't protect them. So when somebody says that, oh, do this, they'll protect you, say you can't protect. And that, knowing that, is very, very smart. Yeah, The Walking Dead, man. Yeah, straight. Yeah, man. Wow, that's messed up. Yeah, if he wants to hop on, I mean, he seems very respectful. I'm kind of scared now that you said he got nuked. It's like, wow, that means somebody is on him. That means hopefully, man, seems like he's got some trolls.
What was his
Yeah.
stream about? Be brave. What was he streaming?
He had came on here before. It was kind of touchy, a little edgy about. He was more on like trying to push that statistic of the 13% type thing, but easily it can be debunked because anybody could say, okay, what percentage, like when they say, oh, 13% commits 50% of violent crimes, and it's like, listen, all 13%, that the way that's worded is so biased.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, how to tell when somebody's lying to you. That's a perfect way to bring it up. To say when somebody tells you 13% of a certain, a group, 13% is committing 15% of 50% of the violent crime, right there, somebody's lying to you. How do you determine that? You say, okay, out of so let's just say it's 15% to make the math easy. That whole 15% is not committing the 50%. There's a percentage, whether it be 2%, 3, 5, 8, 13% of that group that is responsible for that 50%.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that percentage is not the whole group. The old lady, the guy that goes to work, the mailman, stuff like this. All of these people that are part of that 13% are not doing that. We see certain patterns of the people that are. So in saying that, it twists it. And again, it requires brain power to say, wait a second, that's not an accurate way of saying it, because it puts it in a way that gets people to hate a whole group or to try to blame a whole group for the actions of a percentage of that group.
Right.
Yeah, and that's one way to determine. You say, okay, so I didn't even have to see the person. I'm not looking for body language. I'm strictly focusing on mental power of what they said, analyzing it, breaking it down logically, and that's the way to see it, to say, oh, okay, I see how that is not. But he used to focus a lot on that. He was, I think he was traumatized. He seemed like a cool guy. He was kind of Archie Bunkerish, but
But he's following the playbook of all these other streamers. It's like, come on, man. That's why I love this stream, is because we can think for ourselves and come up with topics nobody else is even discussing. It's just like, come on, think of a topic on your own. Why are you just following the Andrew Tates or the Fresh and Fits? All the mainstream. You know what I'm saying? Of the streaming spaces or the YouTube spaces. It's just like, you're not on their level, man. You don't have the backing that they do. So don't try and imitate them.
Yeah. No, that definitely that a lot of places, they don't want you to think. They just want to keep pushing a lot of it. I mean, he's a cool guy. I hope he comes back with his channel, but yeah, it gets a little too much on the race thing, with society trying to push a narrative to say, well, wait a second, if we really look at it, there's a lot of horrendous things going on. There's I mean,
and usually
anybody.
it's the poor that gets persecuted or charged. A lot of the wealthy never get charged. Like what we saw happen on that particular island. You think anybody there is going to get charged? I mean, no, obviously some did, but not the major players, the ones who were there. I mean, it's all hidden. So there's crimes at all levels.
Yeah. And I don't think I'm not sure if anybody did get. The only one who got charged was just Jill.
Giselle.
Yeah, Maxwell, I think.
Yeah, and she's in some white collar country club prison anyway, so it's like a big joke. You know what I
But
mean?
the weirdest thing is, and this is what people pointed out that made, to make you think, she got charged for trafficking to nobody, because nobody that's been incarcerated for who she trafficked to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's insane when you look at it. You start to right there, you can see it. Wait a minute, something's wrong with this here. So you're
Right.
telling me this lady's in jail for trafficking, but who did she traffic to?
Right.
And then that is a mystery. So it's like, well, how are you? It's like kind of not having the evidence.
Exactly. And when you look at crimes like that, which are high level, I mean, okay, I'm just going based on what you said in previous streams that you grew up in a kind of rough area or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, right? Am I right about that?
The what? Say it again?
That you said you grew up kind of in the hood, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, see, here's the thing, and this is what I believe with all my heart, and through life experience. When there's crimes committed, not so much with race, but with poor, you know what I mean? Whether it be a white area in the Appalachian Mountains or in the hood.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about race. If something's going to happen, like if you got a beef with somebody, or somebody has a beef with you and you're in their neighborhood, they're going to let you know. And they're going to let you know on the street in front of everybody. And if there's going to be violence, it's going to happen out in public where everybody can see it. That's more about the poor areas, whether it be white, black, or whatever race. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But in the rich areas, see, this is the difference. If they have a beef with you, they're not going to let you know out in the street in public for everybody to see. And they're not going to start a fight in public where everybody can see. It's going to happen behind closed doors.
Mm-hmm.
That neighborhood's going to remain calm and peaceful, but the crime, if they have a beef, it's going to be hidden and nobody will be able to see it. That's the difference between rich and poor crimes. But it does happen. It's just you don't see it on the street like you would in a poor neighborhood. It's not in the open, but it does occur. It does happen. Trust me on this one. But it happens behind closed doors, so you wouldn't know it. That's the difference. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's I would think, they do in the ghetto sometimes, they're not going to do it in the open, but yeah, for the most part, yeah, that I think it's done that way to make a statement, to kind of put fear. Same thing like we see with the police,
Well, like the drug arrest that happened in the hood. You know what I mean? Are you telling me there's no drugs in Beverly Hills? I guarantee you there's a lot of drugs going on in Beverly Hills. But they ain't bringing no SWAT team to some mansion to raid the house. That ain't happening. But they're doing drugs, just no different than the hood. But the hood is more, shall we say, out in the open,
Yeah.
It's
No, you're
more
right.
about rich and poor. That's really what it comes down to.
They
It's
don't
not
even
about-
enforce it. Like there's been stories that have talked about the DA being told to stand down in rich neighborhoods. Like it's a whole different world. It really is. It's a whole different world. It's I saw a debate with these two guys, and one was a nationalist, and it was like on both sides. I think one was a black nationalist, the other, well, I don't know if it was nationalist, or supremacist or whatever they want to call themselves, and the other, they were on both sides of the spectrum. And it was just, it's hilarious because you're seeing two people trying to talk about something that neither of them really have like free thoughts about. They're going with statistics. And it's to say, well, wait a second. If you really look into these things that have been told to us throughout history, you got to question who said them, who wrote them. Could they have been, changed? I don't know who Myron is that he's talking about, but I doubt that's.
You talking about the beak?
I don't think so. Myron, I think Brian was saying, I don't know which Myron that is, but yeah, it's like when you look at the whole lie thing, basically it comes down to a psychological. When you look at somebody, you think about what they say. It's like somebody telling you they can do something, and you are smart enough to figure out, like, no, they can't do that. They're not capable of doing that. Like when they said, oh, the wall and stuff like this, it's like, okay, the people that want it built or the people that don't want it built, all they had to do was a little bit of math and to say, okay, how long is this thing? Like kind of like if they were building a railroad line, to say, okay, you can only build so much a day. You can only get so much feet. I think you're not, today you might get a mile of track a day, probably more with machines, but to try to get something like road, as you're building a road, to get a certain amount of feet a day, I mean, that's a big accomplishment if you get 100 yards or something, depending on the width of the road. So when somebody says that they're going to do something, they say, well, we're going to build this bridge in a day. There's no way you can build that bridge in a day. That bridge is going to take a couple of months to try to build. And even then, you're still going to have to check to make sure it's been properly reinforced and everything. But you can get the structure up. Maybe if you double, do 24 hours, you might get it up in a less time. Like China got a building up in a day. I think it could have been in a day with machines, but I know they did one in a month. And they're getting better, but of course, with machines, with automatic machines, and 24 hours a day. 24 hours a day, high plans. But if somebody were to say, I'm going to do that, and they didn't have those machines, you could, you start to detect to say that that's not going to be able to be done. But this is some of the, oh, no, he didn't. He said it is from Fit, from Myra. I don't know why are you saluting those guys, Brian? I don't get it. Those guys have kind of been outed as not being genuine or honest, really, by a few other people. We had talked to them before they were that famous. That was on the other channel, but what am I going to say? There's not much to say. This is why we're doing these type of streams, because a lot of those people weren't really honest. Yeah, they weren't really honest, man. You start to get to a point when you see that somebody's, if you see that somebody's a blatant liar, you can have a conversation at first until you really detect it. And then you might want to give yourself, say, okay, well, when you start talking with them, say, look, I'm going to give you 3 chances. And if you lie 3 times, the conversation is over, because it's not a conversation at that point.
Right.
It's that person just lying to you.
Where we got a lot of that is the old stream. We got a lot of liars on that old stream.
Yeah. Constantly. Look, anybody can look at a political debate. It looks like 2 kids yelling at each other. Mm-hmm. It's really sad. High school debates are better or more articulate. College debates. You look at a political debate and it's like, it's actually kind of embarrassing.
But at the same time, they know their audience.
Yeah.
They know the audience. They don't want to hear details or something complicated. They want to hear that back and forth name calling.
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely, they encourage that. It's the Coke and Pepsi, Burger King, McDonald's type of, again, it's the same asylum. It's the same psychiatric hospital with 2 different entrances. Are you walking in through the left or you walking in through the right? And both of those, whichever one you walk through, lead into the Oval Office. And right now, we see what's going on. How much blatant lies can be openly told without a person detecting them? That is kind of shocking to me when I think about the fact that somebody can openly lie over and over, and nobody cares.
Well, you know what it is, though, MD? And this is a good sales, something that they teach in sales. They don't buy the product, they buy the salesman. And it's true. So if they buy into Trump or buy into whoever, Kamala, they can say anything they want to, and they're going to believe it because they want to believe whatever they say. It's not about the details. It's about the person speaking, and whatever he says, they'll just accept it. Similar to evolutionists, if anything backs evolution, they're going to accept it, no matter what. And that's what it is. They like a certain movie star or a singer. Whatever they say is gold. Doesn't matter how wrong it is. They don't care.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's like it becomes cult at that point.
Yeah.
It becomes cult worship where people will they don't care. Now, Trump, when they go to those Trump things and the political things, basically people don't care. They're like, he can't lie. So they're just looking at him. They've almost put him, some people, it's cult level worship.
It is.
I mean, the hats and all of that. And, I pointed it out and somebody was like, I don't know if it was Mega Mike or one of the guys, where I'm like, again, with the letters, it's like red hat. The fact that you don't even got to rearrange the letters. You just take red hat and you take the word hat and put it in front of red and it spells hatred. And it's like, that's kind of odd.
Mm-hmm.
It's very odd. Just like the lady's name being good and the other guy's name being pretty. It just, yeah, man, all roads lead to the straitjacket. Exactly. Yep. It's like the inauguration. That's what it should be. It should be, the inauguration should be the changing of the jackets, basically. That's basically what it is. It's like they transferred the jacket, the straitjacket, the holy straitjacket over from the left to the right part of the asylum. Mm-hmm. So it was definitely straitjacket ceremony that these guys are some people in there are beyond their straitjacket. The next level beyond straitjacket would be medicated straitjacket.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got straight medicated straitjacket level type of people in the Oval Office. It just the whole
more of the zombies who follow this nonsense, because it's like, look what they're doing. They're giving all our money away to other countries to support wars that we don't back. It's like they're screwing you over. All our money's going overseas or going into the pockets of the politicians or the corporations. It's like, and we're getting screwed. We're not getting anything in return. We're getting garbage, So it's not right.
Yeah.
People aren't going to ask the right questions because they get too infatuated with a candidate.
Yeah.
I think that before Trump, the last big one, I think, because Biden, I don't really count him. He was more like a nothing. It was Obama. Obama could do nothing wrong either, but the playbook was the same. Nothing changed. We're still giving billions to Israel. We're still giving billions overseas. Nothing changed,
Yeah, billions and billions. It's ridiculous, man. Billions.
Yeah.
So, and the thing is that they want you to only think Israel, but really look at what Israel would get in a year. They gave basically let's just say it's around 3 billion. They gave Ukraine about 180 billion.
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking at over 50 years, but yet people were still trained because of the, undercover, whatever it is, for somebody to immediately go to Israel, talk to bring Israel up. And we all do it, like people have come on and do it by, I guess, conditioning. But when you say, wait a minute, in 1 year, Biden gave Ukraine what they would give Israel. It would take 50 years, more than 50 years, because that's just 150 billion. He gave them 180 billion. So you're looking at 60 years of what is given to Israel in 1 year. He gave 60 years of that in one political term to Ukraine.
Hmm.
And everybody, you see, again, it's a distraction when they look at the one country and say, oh, well, it's this country. And I'm not saying that no money was given there. I'm just saying, like, wow, that, you know, yeah, you think about it.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's all the same, is what I'm saying. When it comes down to it, we're giving billions of dollars to other countries that have nothing to do with us.
Yeah,
And
we're funding Israel and we're funding their enemies at the same time.
exactly, yeah.
So that makes, it makes you wonder, like, hey, wait a second, what is going on here?
And the
It's
only
like,
reason I'm bringing up Obama is because I'm just saying how long it's been. It's been like
yeah,
well past 20 years of this. You know what I'm saying? This has been
yeah,
on for a long time. Democrat,
Yeah.
Republican, the playbook is the same.
hmm
You know, there's no difference for crying out loud at this point. Well, they say, guys, wake
yeah,
up. The numbers are right in front of you.
yeah. No, anybody, and that's where, yeah, Alexis, good to see you, man. He says, are politicians even good liars? Yeah, I think honestly, they're not even good liars. The
I
people are
agree.
just so zombified. Yeah,
I
doesn't
agree.
matter how bad the lie is, because you'll look at some blatant lie stuff, and they just would keep cheering on. I mean, they'll just keep cheering on. Like he'll just say some dumb stuff, yay, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? Yeah,
Right.
Robert Cialdini, man, this guy is on. Yeah, he's what you said, Mr. X. People buy the salesman, not the product. Exactly,
Yep.
exactly.
Hmm. And they have these images, whether it be Trump or Obama, because I'm using those two because those are the most more charismatic leaders that we've had that people really followed blindly, both left and right.
Hmm.
And they actually, in their minds, they'll create ideas of what they're going to do that they didn't even say. It's just in their minds, they represent something that they're not. But that's exactly what Obama and Trump did.
Hmm.
They gave up, like, people on the far right think Trump is their major leader. Same with
Hmm.
the far left.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
they're actually both the same exact. If you look at the amount of money they've given overseas, the playbook, it's no different.
yeah,
It's the same thing.
yeah. Only thing that changed was the puppet in office.
Exactly.
Yeah, everything else stayed the same, and that's exactly what it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly what it is. It's lie after lie. They put them up on the podium, and the thing is, yeah, it's like they don't even have to be good liars because the population is that zombified,
Right.
and they know that no matter how many of us start to even talk about it, people people don't want to hear it. They're waiting.
Right.
People are waiting for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That's what they're waiting. They're waiting every day. They get their daily dose of hate, just like in the movie 1984, where people sat in front of the theater screen yelling, throwing their fist in the air, making hateful gestures for like 10 minutes or 15 minutes a day. I don't know how long that was, but they had their hate time every day.
Hmm.
And when you look at the videos and stuff with the political people going back and forth, especially the YouTube people trying to play like a political analysis and stuff, it's all based on hate. Yeah, it's the puppet house. It's
I
the
think
puppet house.
I think politics should be viewed as a seesaw because that's what we've seen the last 20 years. If it gets too far left, like we had in Obama, okay, now we got to put somebody in too far right. So the seesaw goes the other way. It's like an up and down seesaw, basically. And that's how they keep their balance with the population. They keep the control. That's really what they're doing.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, I heard about something about the Milana movie. I thought people like wow, I didn't they're eating it up. I thought, yeah, I thought some people like dissed it. I wasn't sure. I think there was a video that somebody had made a review of it. But yeah, wow, if they eat, I wouldn't put it surprise them. I think the book by Cialdini was not persuasion. I think it was persuasion. Like he had a book saying instead of persuading, you have to set up the situation to where you persuade somebody. That's what Cialdini. I give him a lot of credit for that. I mean, he's pretty deep as far as marketing goes. He's really he says there's a way, like he would he goes, if like he said that people that they had a, I think it was a furniture store, and the commercials they showed people with clouds and like comfort in the commercial tended to spend on more on luxurious items, and the people that they showed with like pennies like in the ad and stuff bought more economical items. And he was like, I remember he was in an interview and I said, this guy is like, I mean, pretty deep in studying human psychology on how sales are made. Like, I don't know if it was him or another person that said all sales are made to the emotion, not the intellect. People think they're buying something or choosing something intellectually, but there is an emotional like trigger that creates the sale for something that is a non-necessity. So I would say take it a step further, because if you need something that's a necessity, sometimes you can just buy the basic stuff. You're not going to let the emotion, you have to get this color uniform or this. So it's like, okay, that's what you have to get. But the majority, like to know that protects us. Oh wow, Mega Mike is. I've been going back and forth different windows. He says it's a good movie. Come on, Mike, man.
No, he's joking.
How, man? How do
you
you
bet you he didn't even see
support
the
that,
movie? Come
man?
on.
It just I think about that like, yeah, Biden is definitely medicated level straitjacket. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Brian's right on that one. We got Mega Mike putting up in here. He said overall seven. What? How am I going to sit there and watch? I don't think that's even a chick, but it just.
Mega Mike didn't even see the movie. I'll guarantee you. He's just having fun.
He might have. You never know. Mega Mike might have seen it. He might have.
What was your favorite part, Mega Mike? What was your favorite part?
Yeah. What was your favorite part of the Milana movie? Mr. X is saying you didn't see it. Trace, Alexis. Oh man, Mike is hilarious, man. Mike is hilarious. Yeah, that's actually, yeah, I think it's something along the lines. So that's what he said. We buy with emotions, then justify with logic. I think it was somebody else that wrote the other one though. That yeah, it sold to the income. Wow. Yeah, that's actually a good.
You like the ending. So some private Trumps. Oh, come on, man. You probably just had to look it up.
Ending. Oh my good. Wow. I mean, Mike, I guess, hey, I know that's a guy that you really admire, I would say, Trump. And, I can understand for the guy that, I mean, it gets to a point to where you just want to, it's just easier to just follow something you like. And I can't knock it. That's what you want to do. It's like, we're just basically trying to say, okay, how would you know if somebody's lying to you? How do you know when they're lying to you? But you also, in some instances, people don't want to know. And that's something I noticed too. You can't tell somebody, like it would be hard for us to explain, Mike, that something that we would say, look, you see right here, this is a lie. If it's somebody that you like, it's going to be hard to look at. Some people will refuse to look at it. That's why, like when we said, people who have rich parents or certain people in upper parts of society don't get punished. Like the drugs in Beverly Hills, it's kept behind the scenes. I think it's kept behind the scenes more too, so they can bend the law and say, all right, we're gonna let this slide. Nobody's gonna know about it, and that's what it is. And then the statistic numbers go up on the other stuff. What was 85 years ago? They still haven't released the files on Rudolf Hess's mission. That name sounds familiar.
No, it's for the Nazi Party. Rudolf Hess.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was in the Nazi Party.
Yeah, I
Hey,
think.
MD, I got to run. I got to get to work. But
Yeah,
if you're
man.
back
Hey,
on,
it's
if you're
always a
still on,
pleasure
give me
having
a
you on,
call.
bro. Always, man.
Thank you. Great
Thank you.
show.
Yeah, thank you for being here, man. Yeah, they have. I think it was okay. Rudolph. Or I was thinking of an author, Herman Hesse. I think it was. Um, yeah. So that guy, people don't buy. They buy for emotional reasons. That could be. Yeah, it could have been that. Because then there was some other stuff of sell to the emotion. So something, you sell it to the emotion, and then that's what the people. Yeah, Mega Mike, bro. Thank you for the support, brother. He says showing support, but I really want to know on your side, how is Trump and our base lying, saying we are making America great again? Okay, this is how they're lying, and thank you for the support, Mike. This is how they sign when how Trump and our base lying, saying we're making America great again. So this is how they're lying about saying they're making America great again. They have been talking about this shooting, right, that happened, and they're not. It seems as if they're not supporting the Second Amendment. So now, if you look at a lot of news that are on the right side, they're basically telling people that the Second Amendment is not exercisable, or even the First Amendment. So the fact that I don't agree with what's going on with, I don't protest. I'm not a guy that's going to be out there. I don't think that really helps. It's like you vote with your dollar, but also there's things that protest. What is it really going to help? It's better that you plan and talk to people in positions to try to make a change instead of standing out there with a sign, because the people are going to make the change that, people say, oh, well, they protest and that's why they made the change. No, there was another reason. You think it was the protest, but it wasn't. So in that context, when I look at the fact that now we have what happened, right? So this is how they're lying about saying making America again. So great again. Anything that deals with, and you as a I would think that you support the Constitution, the amendments, the Declaration of Independence. People can't read cursive today. Most of the people, they say 30 and under. So how are they going to read the Declaration? These things are written in cursive script. We see the increments going toward making a society that dumbing them down little by little. And now it's not even little by little. It's in massive leaps and strides of stupidity that are just gripping people with ignorance that doesn't leave them. It just grows like the blob on them until it covers them in ignorance. And with somebody that thinks America can be great without the exercise of the First and Second Amendment, it's either that the person is just so delusional to say, okay, I would have to put it in this context. Can America be great again without the First or Second Amendment? So that's this kind of tests I'm trying to explain it to you in this way, Mega Mike. So think about that. Okay, how is Trump lying, saying we're making America great again? Well, lying in the sense of, okay, asking him, how does America become great again without Americans being able to exercise the First and Second Amendment? We not fighting the Second Amendment. We just saying people shouldn't fight cops while armed. Well, okay, if they're fighting cops, right, whether they're armed or not, the being armed is your right. So this is the funny thing. Kyle Rittenhouse, right? He was armed, and he also discharged the firearm. But I don't think he got in trouble for that, right? At a protest. We had the thing where this is the thing. Oh, okay, and this is the thing about this, Mike. And I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying here about, not fighting the Second Amendment. he shouldn't be fighting cops while armed. Now, in the video, I think they took it away from him, and then that's when the act happened of discharging their firearms into him. So now when we look at that, we start to say, okay, they're telling us that they shouldn't fight the cops while armed, but when we look at it, he wasn't armed when they committed that. And Alexis says the cop shot him, wow, in the back after they took his firearm. So he discharged it into him after. He wasn't fighting once again. And they did that after they took it away from him. Yeah. So that's another thing, Mike. Do you see how they're twisting it, right? Mike, do you see how they're twisting it? Because they're saying, don't, they're not fighting the Second Amendment. They're saying people that are fighting cops while they're armed, but he wasn't armed. You see it right here. There's also the videos. Also, what about the woman who wasn't armed, right? So I'm not saying that these people, like what they're doing down there, it's not my way where I would say, hey, go down and, or I'm going to protest. No, I'm not about that. But that's the First Amendment. So the First Amendment, the lady, okay, let's put it this way. The lady, now some people will try to bring up, oh, well, the car was moving. And again, the video, tell me, Maxed Out, how do you know when Trump is lying? Okay. All right. This is going back where we can look at video and analyze this to make sure. Remember when Trump wasn't pushing the jab, the magic jab at one point? He was just like, oh, he made a joke, like, right? Like just stick some type of, what was it? Some type of bleach or something, use something like he made a joke about that. And people, was like, oh, snap, this guy is just off the rails. But also he wasn't pro magic posh. When he was running for re-election while Biden was in office, he turned pro jab. So could it be that he's lying about being pro jab when he wasn't jab? Okay, that's one of them. The other one, how do I know when he's lying? Is when he lied about the felonies thing and then got convicted of them. So now he can go and say, well, he wasn't lying. Well, the court determined that he was. Now he didn't get fined. He didn't get nothing, no time, nothing. All they got from him was a conviction, which on the record, that's what they want. They want statistics to show that the state isn't wrong, even though he didn't get any type of punishment. But that conviction, over 30 convictions, are him saying one thing and them saying, no, you're lying. So that's the thing. So this is how, now I know, like how I would say when I know he's lying was about when he didn't support the potion, and then next thing you know, he was supporting it, bang, next thing you know, he's president again. And then some of the other things that he said in reference to certain things. Yeah, it just, when I think about that, that's just two instances. I'm looking for others. I'm thinking, okay, what else? Because I don't even have to look it up. All I got to do is think about it. There's what was that interview he had back in the 80s, I think it was, when he said he would run on the Republican ticket because, I think he said something to alluding to they're easier to manipulate. They'll eat up anything. And, yeah, when I think about it, it's like, I really can't believe some of the things people believe that he's saying, like, we're going to make America great again, right? Okay, this is another way, Mike, that I would say he's lying, right? If he was going to make America great again, He had 4 years to do it, and it didn't happen. If he was going to make America great again, we have to establish when it was great, right? And when it wasn't great. And did he bring it back to the time when he said it was great, right? We don't see that happening. It would be nice if we could establish the timeline, but we don't see that happening in the 4 months. Therefore, even if he tried, right, to make the country better and didn't succeed, but he made the effort, it would still be considered a lie because he didn't accomplish it. It's like somebody saying, I'm going to make this great. And it's like, you made it good, but you didn't make it great. It's like, yeah, but I did something, right? It's like, yeah, you did, but you lied. You should have said you were going to make it good because you said you were going to make it great and you didn't. Yeah, but you made it good. Yeah, but that's not what you said. And this is how you determine when someone is lying. The person who lies will always try to be like, well, I did something though. And I put effort into it. Putting effort into something isn't the same as accomplishing the goal. So these are little bits and tads where I'm letting you, Mike, because you support the show. I owe it to you, man. And I appreciate the questions. But this is how I know when he's lying. And lying, you can look and see when he said it and then when it was never accomplished. Now he's in office again. And we can go through the stuff that he's said and to see like, okay, is there a lie afterwards? I don't know what you're saying about pure blood. Yeah, when questioned, Trump said he was just joking and telling people to take it, even though he made public statements in 2020 demanding people put. Wow, that's deep, man. And that's the thing too. It's like that's another part where it's like, man, yep, if I would have run as a Republican, they're the dumbest group of voters in the country. They believe anything on Fox News, and I could lie and they'd still eat it up. Donald Trump. Yes, thank you, Alexis. People Magazine, 1990. Wow, was that late? I thought it was in the 80s. Okay, no, that's cool. I think he did an interview on Arsenio once talking about it too. Wow. Hazel says, according to astrology and numerology, 2026 will be one of his best years. I don't believe it as I'm not a Trump fan. Wow, I didn't know. I hope it'll be. I really hope this year. This year is the so-called country's so-called 250th anniversary. Because remember, they say the country was established in 1776, right? And the 200th anniversary was 1976. And now the country is 250 years old. But I'm surprised that nobody's really like saying anything, It's like I would think that would be a big point in saying that the country, it's kind of odd that don't you find it odd that that's not being promoted more, Brian? You don't find that kind of odd? Is that a little you got to think like you got to think like if this is like such a big thing, if you're supposed to be a patriot like people in office, why wouldn't it be bigger? Why wouldn't it be like, hey, this is the 250th year, a quarter of a millennia old. So just like we're a quarter of the way into this millennia, a little more, 26 years. So we're a quarter into, no, not the millennia, the first century. We're a quarter into the first century. The country is a quarter into the first millennia of its age, because it would be, right, if it's 1776, right? So it would be 100 years. You're adding on 100 years. So, no, I mean 1,000. So 1776, right? Plus 1,000 years would be 2776. That would be the country's 1,000th anniversary, right? 1,000-year anniversary, 2076. So that would be the 250 years that we're at now, plus another 750 years to make 1,000. But I don't think half hate the country, man. I really don't. Didn't even know Trump said those lying quotes. Yeah, bro. I'm so glad that you're learning here, Mike. You're open, and that's what's so good about you, bro. You're open to hearing it, and you can look up the quotes to see that nobody's lying. Because I remember, it just yeah. I'm so glad that yeah, those quotes were really messed up. And he said more too, man. He said more. It's being promoted in the NFL zombie ball. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I tell you, 1976, man. Divine Hazel says my home was born in 1709. Wow. Wow, that's amazing. That's special. That is so special. So beautiful when you look back at the memories. And we get the nostalgia, and we start to see how precious every moment was, and possibly learn that every moment is precious. Every moment we have, it's just, I look back at the times and just say to myself, like, yeah, it really has been a journey. And the thing is, we never know when it's going to end. That's the amazing thing. Could end tonight. I might not wake up tomorrow. Great. That's life. I had a beautiful life. I look at it as I don't need to grow old. I'm happy where I'm at. And this was good. And the people that I love have passed on. And so I made sure I did my part. And it just, that, I guess, also part of it makes me more relaxed, because there was a time that if I did pass, people would have missed me. They would have needed me. Now, it's me. And in a way, you feel like, okay, things happen, man. Things happen. Brian says maybe 70% they want. I don't think so, man. When you think about it, right? That's like somebody being on a ship. America keeps us afloat. We don't know anything other than America, really. Right? So why would somebody want to sink the ship that they're floating on? Now, some people, yes, if they're asylum, they're going to do it because they don't know what they're doing. They're straight psychiatric ward. But the people that do know are going to be like, look, it's like kind of like biting the hand that feeds you, really. You don't want to do that if you want to keep getting fed. Kalala, good to see you, man. He says, have you seen the latest Jeffrey Epstein files? We need a whole episode on that. No, I heard something about it. I don't know. Is there anything like that stands out that you think? Well, it's not. Remember, Brian, pride is not good. Pride comes before the sin, right? Before the fall, right? Pride, happy. I mean, I have to admit, happy, yes. Happy, people were happy, but they're always trying to slip pride in there. They can get pride in there, believe me. Lust, greed, anger, wrath, all of that stuff is next. It's going to pile in. Those vices, you got to keep your mind strong, keep your heart strong to not let that come in. If it's not in your heart, you're not going to be greedy. You got some people that just ain't greedy. Enough is enough with them. They're happy. They're happy with what they have. It's like, this is something that I think kids need to be taught, but instead, what are they raised to? We see all this music, the pop music, the rap music, the rock music, not the best role models, I would say. Not the best role models. It just, and that's the thing I noticed with the pride thing, man. Be proud. It's like, why can't I just be happy? Why can't I just be satisfied? Like, isn't being satisfied to me is better than being proud. Because again, the proud, man, pride, that thing is, you wonder, why do religious people look at that as the worst sin? Say, okay, out of the 7 deadly sins, or the vices, right? What they would call the 7 deadly vices or something. Pride is supposed to be the worst. Why? And when people look into it, they might see and realize at that point, that realization is like an awakening. Say, oh, okay, this is what it is. The fact that, the pride, man, I tell you, that it just sets you up for the fall. It sets you up for the fall. You can't get hurt if you fall from not a high level. The higher your level, the higher the pride, the harder to fall, actually. Can be it can be to a point where it's lethal because of pride. When we look at that, when we look at lust, when we look at greed, wrath, what really comes? Anger. Well, who said it? I think it was Mark Twain or somebody else said anger is anger's like, it's like drinking something to hurt you and expecting the other person to feel that effect. Meanwhile, you're hurting yourself. So that, when you think about it, and I know, Brian, I know how you feel, man. I hear, it's not hate, bro. To love other people is not to hate yourself, man. To care about other people is not to hate yourself. There are things in the country that are geared. Anybody can look up the black doll, white doll experiment from the 70s, and you'll see that they have been conditioning. Yeah, exactly. That is bad. Exactly. Native American tribes. Yeah, anybody that's proud. I'm not saying they are bad. I'm saying that behavior is not good. And thank you, Divine Hazel. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. The pride part of it. Can we think about it, Brian? Let's think of a better word than pride, right? What would be a better word? Happy, satisfied, So when, what? I'll ask, when we look at pride, right? Okay, what's the problem, right? What's the problem with pride, right? You're saying that's bad. What's the problem with it, right? So it inflates a self-centered view. So we do see that self-centered view, right? It leads to destructive behaviors like arrogance. We clearly see that. Comparisons. There are always comparisons with pride. Stubbornness, right? It damages relationships. Pride. Think about it. Pride damages relationships. Happy, man. Somebody's happy to be what they are. Great. But how about making it even better by trying to be something more? Trying to be, all right, you're born this. Now, how about trying to be a good version of that? Because we do see bad versions of that. Let's see how good a person can be. It blocks personal growth. Pride blocks personal growth, man. It prevents us from admitting mistakes or seeking help. You see, so what do we see with people that are very proud? They don't want to admit mistakes. Their personal growth is blocked. They don't seek help. Their relationships are damaged by stubbornness, comparison, arrogance, the self-centered, inflated view. So these are just a few things that are problems with pride. I'm just pointing this out to help you, Brian, to say, look, man, we want to all become smarter. This is what it's about. How to know when somebody's lying. So when somebody says pride is good, and we say you're lying, either knowing that you're lying or you don't know that you're lying. But either way, you're lying, because pride is not good. Pride is something that can cause some some serious problems. No, 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 no. This is another thing. It's not that. If Americans, not all Americans now, remember, look up Black Americans that won World War II. If I'm correct, the all white, because remember, the military was segregated back then. The all white squadrons could not escort the bombers all the way through to get to Germany. They kept getting shot down. So what did they do? They sent an all black squadron, which accomplished getting the bombers through to Germany without getting shot down. So when we think about it, right, Black Americans were the ones that really won a large part of the war for Americans. And they never walked around saying they were proud to be American. They came back and couldn't get loans to get houses. One of those World War II Black American veterans came home and got his eyes gouged out when he asked to use the bathroom from the bus on South Carolina by the police chief who got acquitted. So when we look at the atrocities, proud, if Americans were not proud, no, if Americans were not skilled, if they did not put Black men to go accomplish to get those bombers through to Dresden. And even then, I think it was all one thing. I don't think we won World War II. If you look at it, why would you? We would be resisting till this day probably if we thought they won. And I doubt we might be speaking German, but we'd probably still speak English too. I doubt we'd be speaking Japanese. See, and I'm glad you say German because they say Japanese. I notice most people that are paranoid will say, oh my goodness, the whole world would have been speaking Japanese. No, it wouldn't have. It wouldn't have been speaking Japanese, man. We'd have been speaking probably German, but when you think about it, what happened? Easier to rule in secret. It's easier to rule in secret, to say, hey, you know what? Yeah, you guys won. We're going to open up a division called NASA, and we're going to produce rockets. We're going to, Germany's going to become the best car manufacturer, commercial car manufacturer in the world, and Japan. Funny enough, and electronics, you wonder what was, like Andrew Dice Clay said, what was in those nuclear so-called bombs, radio transistors or something? It said what Japan became like such an electronic powerhouse after that, and yeah, exactly. We do have a lot of Germans in the USA. There's a lot of Germans in South America. When I went to South America, there's actually a town, I think in Chile, a few towns that only speak German. So, the pride, how about when we look at this, right? All right, let's see, can we detect the lies if this has a lie in it? If Americans were not proud, we would all be speaking German or Japanese. Okay, pride, let's take pride out, because pride, the reason that they defeated, right? If it even going across, what they're saying is technology. If we didn't have the fighter jets and the skill, the men who had the skill to fly them, that's the technical answer. To say, okay, that's why it could have happened. Well, that's why it really did happen. It's like saying this guy won the race, right? He won the race. He won the Indianapolis 500 because he was proud. No, he won the race because he had the right machine and he was the man to drive it. It had nothing to do with pride. How does pride help that? Now, after somebody so-called might win a war, they might get proud. They're proud that after the event, which again comes before the fall, it's just a matter of time. Again, the definitions are right. It fosters an inflated, self-centered view. That's one of the main problems. It's a growth blocker, a relationship destroyer, causes grudges, prevents forgiveness, always creates conflict, makes people stubborn. keeping families and spouses apart. I noticed that in my own family because people are too proud to say that they apologize. That's a problem when people are too proud to say that, oh, they don't want to apologize. It keeps families apart, man. It really does. It's a spiritual barrier too in many faiths, seen as an abomination to deities. And internal discontent. We know that that's part of it too. Arrogance and exaggerated self-importance. So when somebody has an exaggerated sense of self-importance and is arrogance, that's a sign of pride. Focusing on others' sins rather than your own. The inability to accept correction or criticism, that's when you know somebody's got a problem with pride. Constantly seeking praise and attention, what do we see? They're, hey, we lead in this, we lead in that, definitely don't lead in education, and a belief that you're better than others. That whole thing, America first. I mean, America first, you look at that, that says it all with the pride. What's the antidote, right? Humility. To recognize imperfections, to consider others as more important than yourself. That's a tough one. To say not just equal, but to say sometimes people are more important. You need it more. You see somebody that needs help. See somebody older. You're considering people to be more important than yourself, to say, no, this person, go ahead, you go first. That's the thing. Focusing on contributing to others. Instead of just self-elevation, you contribute. You recognize your imperfections. These are the antidotes if a person can recover from pride of believing that they're better than others. They don't want to accept criticism. It just, Operation Paperclip, man. That was like pure, pure stuff coming over. That stuff just, when people wake up, you think about it, man. People wake up from the pod. They don't know they're in the pod. They don't even know they're in the pod, man, sleeping. But once they wake up from that pod and they see what's around them, maybe at that point, people might decide to wake up. But going over the problem with pride, again, this is something too. You can see this, like how to know when someone is lying, how to know when someone, again, is being signs of pride. Like, how do you know when someone's being proud? The art of detection, the knowledge, to being able to do that is very important. You see somebody who's the inability to accept correction or criticism. You're like, well, this is a sign of pride, too much, just overloaded. Constantly seeking praise and attention. Oh, you should be grateful, right? What do we see? Oh, you should be great. You got people literally saying that they should be grateful that they got colonized. Always seeking praise and attention, signs of pride. Belief that one person is better than another. Yeah, hey, they saved them. These people were tribal. These other people enslaved them, and that enslavement saved them. Really? You really believe that? And this is what people actually, when I look at that, I say, wow, this person is so full with pride that they don't have enough room left to think. The cup is full. If the cup is full, if the cup of knowledge is full, then you can't get anything new. You got to empty some of the stuff out to accept new stuff. But most people can't or won't, and they'll that's it. They'll only accept what they already believe, and they won't change from it. They have to pour out, they have to let go some of the stuff they believe in for facts. Now that would require, as you let go of it, that's the, in analogy wise, that's the slowly but surely, it has people wake up, slowly but surely. They start to say, okay, maybe you don't need to seek attention and praise. Maybe criticism is something that needs to be listened to so a person can grow. Maybe focusing on a person's own things is more important than focusing on something from someone else. Like, oh, they. How about, looking in the mirror? Arrogance and exaggerated sense of self-importance. It's pride, man. It's a sign of pride. And pride ain't good, man. No matter how many times they try to tell you. It ain't. Doesn't lead to anything good. It leads to problems. It's like how we were showing. It blocks growth. Source of conflict. It fuels the need to win, to get a payback somehow. And we see this on both sides, to seek recognition. But what does it really do? Leads to strife and division. And when we look at some people that preach that pride and all of this stuff is not good, sometimes we end up getting caught up in another one of those seven deadly. Look at Jimmy Swaggart, right? He won the Oscar for sweatiest performance on camera when he got caught. I think he got caught picking up a working girl. And then next thing you know, he was repentant on camera during a sermon. And I think he got caught twice. That's the hilarious thing. I mean, to get caught, oh man, that's like, yeah, man. It just, again, pride, idolatry. I tell you, that's just one of the problems, It just unhealthy pride. They have different types. They try to like break it down and say, well, they got to be we got to be able to salvage something out of this so we can still control people. Pride thing. It's like, people struggle with it because of poor self-worth, because of shame again. And that brings the pride. They'll try to say, oh, the guilt, and then it fuels the pride. Poor self-worth. It creates that inner narrative. You can't be seen as weak if, the pride eats in like that. It's like, what's wrong with being weak? You got to be weak. If you're strong, that came from being weak. People think they know more than others with pride. People, and you notice that. I noticed this a lot with academia. A lot of academics, very, very prideful. It's just inability to accept criticism. And these are supposedly academics, feeling superior to others, neglecting or looking down even. Yeah, I've noticed that on somebody they perceive as being less significant. Pride is, somebody might say, why is it so destructive? It's destructive because it makes us arrogant, man, complacent, unable to admit our mistakes. It just, Billy Graham, another one, right? Billy Graham, he tried to come out with it, try to come out with, something, pride is a failure to meet others in our shared humanity. That's what it is. Pride is clearly that. No, again, See, you're incorrectly saying this. When you played b-ball and football, pride drove you and your teammates. No, no, man. Pride didn't drive you. Motivation. Pride didn't give you the motivation either. Motivation, the want. That doesn't have to be pride. When you played b-ball and football, right? Wasn't pride that drove you. It was other factors. You see, you played it, one, because you wanted to play it, unless you were forced to play it. See, it's like I was saying, how did pride make that guy win a race? Or he didn't win, but he, like how you were saying, just playing b-ball and football, he plays football because he's proud. How does that make sense? See, again, we're trying to look to see how do we detect when somebody's lying? And that just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that pride pushed you to do that. It just doesn't fit. You know, it hides behind shyness and self-debasement and even depression. You know, not wanting to be depressed, that could have made you play. But pride is sneaky. So it hides behind that self-depression. You know, it says, hey, you know what? You're not depressed. You're proud. You know, and then till this day, you might use that to shield. You know, to say, hey, you know, no, it's a good thing. No, dealing with depression and dealing with reality is where it's at. Okay, now that you see, you wanted to be the best, right? And help your team win. So you wanted to help your team. You wanted to help, man. That's the opposite. You ain't doing pride there. That's like a love type of thing. So you wanted to be a good person, and that's what drove you and your teammates, not pride. You see how easy it is, how we came to that? Now, wanting to be the best, like we said, that goes back to one of the problems with pride. When somebody says, hey, you know what, man, what's a sign of pride? A belief that you're better than others. Now, I'm not saying that you were saying you have a belief that you're better than others, but you wanted to help your team win and you wanted to be the best. So in other words, you wanted to be better than others. That is a sign of pride. It is. Now, when you look at that, you start to say, is it good? Is that better? Is wanting to be better than others, right? You know, if you wanted to be better than where was it again? I wanted to be best, right? Is helping your team better? Isn't helping your team better a better reason to say, hey, man, I want to help my team. I didn't have a big head because I wasn't very good. I mean, I'm just, you know, we're trying to get to common ground. And I'm so glad that, you know, we can have these type of conversations, because this is where learning happens, instead of people yelling. Or, you know, if you noticed how I notice some streams, when people say stuff that they don't agree with, they'll read the comment off like mad or something, man. I think it's hilarious. You know, I'm looking at it like, I like when people like comment and say stuff that, you know, even if they make jokes or try to, you know, roast or something, hey, it's cool with me. I'm okay with it, because this is a place where people are allowed to be themselves in a respectful manner. They don't have to agree with the topic. And that's something that I think is underrated, because in a lot of places you either agree with the topic or you don't. And I'm saying, well, how about us working on, maybe there's something that we don't see that's in between. So the topic says how to know when someone is lying, right? So how to know when someone is lying, and then how to know when someone isn't lying, or when they're telling the truth. And then what's in between? There's definitely stuff in between, you know, the doors, right? But I'd like to thank everybody, man. Whew, man, these streams, it's been a lot, man. Every day this month. I know it's been over 30 days. Today's the 31st. I've been streaming every day since before Christmas. That's a good thing, though. Yeah, I'm glad to have gotten some type of headway into pride, into the whole thing about learning about this. But yeah, we'll talk again tomorrow night. I think Sunday night we'll be doing something. I got to look into the Civil War type of thing for the 1800s when that happened. I think it was the 1850s when that happened. But maybe talk about some of that. But tomorrow, I had a few things written down about probably maybe some geography. But yeah, I'll look. We'll do something deep. And you guys take care. Have a great night. We'll talk tomorrow.